Good morning, First Squad. I'm Cadet J2-Sullivan. I'm going to be briefing on Operation Bobcat Lightning. So, your task can be to attack, destroy Objective Phantom with the purpose of denying enemy influence on the battalion size of operation. So, Alpha Team, you're going to be the supporting element. Your task is to isolate the enemy to prevent the enemy from influencing on the size of operation. Bravo Team, you're going to be the main element, tasked with destroying the enemy mortar team on Objective Phantom with the purpose of disrupting enemy indirect fires. The key weapon systems for both of these teams are going to be the M249 and the M320. Attached to that is the gun team 1 of the weapons team, which is going to be tasked with support by fire with the purpose of enabling Bravo team to move on the objective. Their key weapon system is the M240 Bravo. So, area of interest. Key takeaway for area of interest is that we're going to have our area of interest to the north, 37 north, bound by the south, 30 north, east, 19 east, and to the west, 8 east. Our area of operations, AO Ronin, is going to be bound by north, 37 north, south, 31 north, east, 17 east, and west, 10 east. The important enemy assets to take note of here are going to be our PL-66 battery, which is going to apply indirect fires for multiple positions in vicinity of Taitung. Elements greater than squad size, which can trigger it, which includes us. We have attached gun team, and the time is going to take us 10 minutes before they have indirect fire on our position. The other indirect fire capability is going to be the PP-87, which is the mortar system located on Objective Phantom. It's fires from 0300 to 0800 and 1500 to 1900. The key takeaway of this, though, is that if we're on the objective fighting them, they can't indirect fire on top of themselves. However, if we become known before we make it to Objective Phantom, they will be able to put indirect fires on us within 5 minutes. So it's absolutely paramount that we do not come into contact before we reach Objective Phantom. So looking at our GTAO, we've got our trace of AO Ronin, which starts at Route Camaro. We've also got it down to the village to the south here of Chain Shah. To the east, we have the Hainan Mountain Range. To the west, we have Bayan River. The objectives we want to note are Objective Phantom, which is located here, is where we're going to be taking attack to destroy. We're also going to be looking at key terrain here of K1, which is going to be located by an enemy squad. It's going to be the intersection of the road, the only road that goes up the hill here, which means the enemy squad and us both want to take it because it allows for motorized movement up to Objective Phantom. Additionally, K2. This is going to be the most likely place that we may come into contact with the recon squad, and if we do, we're going to become known and receive indirect fire. So we want to exercise extreme caution when around K2. Additionally, on the GTAO, we have the mountains here in the river over here, which are going to provide very restricted terrain. And because it's very restricted terrain, it limits the routes we can take, and also makes the enemy make our routes a lot more predictable. For avenues of approach, we have Avenue Approach 1 along Route Camaro here, which is going to allow us to move quicker. However, there's enemies located on Objective Ghost here, as well as the enemy squad here that's going to see us moving. And whereas Avenue Approach 2, it goes through the woods, it may require us to be a little bit more gritty. It's going to take more out of us. However, it will allow us to become the most concealed, as the trees here provide concealment as we get on the objective, where we will not be seen until we're about 50 meters out from the objective, which is absolutely ideal. Additionally, due to the indirect fires in the AO, we cannot spend more than 10 minutes on the objective before we receive IDF fire, so we need to be quick on the objective. For our weather, we've got 15% illumination, which means it'll be harder for the enemy to see us. However, it'll make us very slow moving under nods because we're not going to be able to see much. This favors us since the ability for us to stay unnoticed is absolutely paramount. The wind is going to have little effect because the only thing the thing it would affect in this system would be the ability for them to use helicopters. However, they're not going to deploy their attack helicopters unless they detect a battalion size element or larger, so it's negligible to us. Precipitation is going to be 70% chance, which the enemy is going to have a hard time affecting us. However, it's going to be slower movement because it's going to be muddy, which means we're going to have a worse time. However, we're going to have noise concealed, and therefore this is a marked advantage. Our cloud cover is going to be 100%, which is going to be negligible for operators if we're not planning on doing airborne air assault. For temp and humidity, it's going to be 88% humidity. This doesn't favor us because it means we're going to be a lot more exhausted coming up the hill because it's going to be hotter outside, it's going to be muggier weather. However, we're just going to have to dig deep and push through on that objective. For enemy composition strength on the company level, so this is a Google Maps depiction of the Objective Phantom. As you can see, the enemy squad is located here with the only road north going up around here. And so because of that, the Avenue Approach 2 is going to take us over here by this point, and we're going to be able to come up here into Objective Phantom under the tree cover, as opposed to being found by this enemy squad, getting lit up by them, and then receiving indirect fire from the mortar team. That's not ideal. So, looking at the enemy composition, we have this mounted infantry platoon here, which is going to be occupying as their task with the purpose of denying operations in the decisive operation. Additionally, we've got the mortar team located here, which is tasked with disrupting battalion operations, decisive operations over here, with their range of 5.6 kilometers. They have 5 packs, as well as this platoon has 36 packs. Our units face a mechanized infantry company at 90% strength, total of 86 packs. We've also got this Cav squad here with the task to screen and identify our units moving through the AO. We also have a reinforcement platoon that can come up here to reinforce and support the enemy with anything they want in terms of fires. They'll be able to get in the fight, and which means we need to move quickly. The most common weapon system is the QBZ-95, which is currently M4. The most dangerous weapon system these enemies have is going to be the PP-87, the mortar system, which is most comparable to the M255-82 Mike mortar we have. So, as far as the platoon level, our units face an enemy platoon at 90% strength. The key things we got here are going to be, again, this recon squad, which is going to be securing. We've also got this squad down here, which is going to be controlling the village near the mortar system. The purpose of this is going to be to deny us from getting close to the mortar system using any kind of motorized vehicles or mounted infantry, because we're not going to be able to get past them first. Again, the most dangerous weapon system they have is the PP-87, which is comparable to the M255. The most common weapon system is going to be QBZ-95, which is comparable to the M4. So, moving on to our enemy sit temp. Over here, we're going to have our mortar team, which is going to have the mortar facing out to disrupt with the task disrupting to deny the U.S. forces operations in battalion. Kill Zone Bravo here, which is located in the north, is going to have the M249 equivalent of the Chinese, as well as their M320 equivalent, pointing out towards the road and towards the tree line, respectively. They will probably anticipate we're going to try and take the woods as opposed to the roads, so they're going to have a kill zone set up over there. Additionally, we're going to have a linear indirect fire target, because they will probably anticipate we're going to go back into the woods as opposed to going over the road and facing the squad. Additionally, the squad located here is going to have their kill zone alpha located here with a task of supporting this mortar team. And they're going to be, or the purpose of supporting the mortar team, and they're going to be tasked with controlling this area. They're going to have their DZJOA, which is equivalent of an AT4, pointed out towards the road. They're going to have their equivalent of an M110 pointed out towards the kill zone alpha, as well as they're going to have their equivalent of the M320 pointed out towards kill zone alpha as well, in case we do decide to take this road north. The highest value target here is going to be the PP-87, because it's the most counter-producing weapon the enemies have here. Additionally, the highest priority target, though, is going to be the driver located on here to prevent them from taking the withdrawal route out and keeping the mortar system intact. So, for our enemy Milcoa on the SIP temp, the purpose of enemy's operations is disrupt friendly forces in the battalion size of operation. They'll accomplish this by a form of defense, which is going to be keeping this this mortar system operational, and they're going to be providing indirect fires throughout the AO, as well as this squad here is going to be supporting them in that objective. It's decisive through operations to prevent the U.S. force from destroying Objective Phantom, because it's critical in continuing providing IDF fire. The purpose of the enablers is to support these things. Their end state for terrain is going to be to secure K1, still located over there by the village, within AO Ronin. The enemy elements, so they're going to want to just have U.S. elements repelled and disrupted throughout the AO. For civilian considerations, they're going to want to minimize civilian harm, and their end state for friendly is going to be to minimize their own casualties. So, additionally, the enemy capabilities by WFF. Their intelligence is going to be a weakness. They do not know the strength and composition of Charlie Company at the moment. Movement and maneuver, that's going to be strength because of their CSK 141 that we do not have an equivalent of, because we're a dismounted unit. For fires, they're going to have a strength because they have 10-minute IDF within anywhere in the AO. For protection, they're going to have a strength because they have a supporting squad on the mortar team. For sustainment, is negligible. For command and control, they've got an extra radio that can call for backup that's probably attached to the mortar team, so they give them more command and control than a typical unit would have. As far as our friendly units in our concept sketch, 2-level intent is going to be disrupt enemy force in AO Ronin no later than 30/20 August 24th in order to deny enemy influence in battalion size of operation. The key tasks are going to be disrupt enemy operations of Charlie Company, deny enemy uncontested use of high-speed avenues of approach. The extended purpose is going to be conduct squad operations to conceal capability and disrupt decisions. The terrain, in-state, terrain, primary, MSR. Enemy is going to be disrupted without accurate knowledge of our company's disposition. The in-state, they're going to minimize civilian casualties. And the dispersed elements are going to be able to return to the patrol base. 1 level up intent is going to be first platoon disrupts enemy force in AO Ronin in order to deny enemy influence in the battalion objective. So we've got our second platoon, which is, or second platoon, which is going to be, or second squad, which is going to be ambushing objective Reaper to destroy it with the purpose of disrupting enemy route Camaro. The third squad in our platoon is going to be demonstration to suppress in order to deceive the enemy unit composition because they may think that we have a much larger unit if they're willing to engage. The key tasks of 1 level up are going to be disrupt enemy operations, deny enemy uncontested AOAs, avoid decisive engagements. This concludes my brief. Thank you for listening, First Squad. Let's get out there and let's do a great operation. Brief concluded.